Okay, so this week I played XDefiant in a PC preview of the game, and I know what you're thinking, this is a PlayStation website, why would I be playing on PC, why am I talking about it today? But I think there's a bunch of interesting topics and things that we can pull from this big live service attempt from Ubisoft, so let's get into it. If you don't know what XDefiant is, it's an upcoming free-to-play arena shooter from Ubisoft that is creating the Ubiverse, and that means that it is pulling maps and factions from the various back catalogue of Ubisoft franchises and mashing them all into one big multiplayer shooter. At launch we're going to see 5 different factions, and each of these factions come with their own ability and their own maps that match in with the franchise that they come from. So these games are Far Cry 6, Ghost Recon Phantoms, Splinter Cell, Watch Dogs and The Division. So that means that you could be playing as a cleaner in a post-apocalyptic Manhattan, but you could also be playing as a Libertad Revolution member in a tropical Yara setting from Far Cry 6. So that is really the big selling point, but there's a lot more to discuss here. And I will start off with a quick apology because the gameplay that you'll be seeing here today is just not it. I had a bunch of issues with recording through the PC when I usually record on PlayStation, so it's a bit of a mess. It didn't run as badly as some of the footage might look, but I did just think that I should say that. Also, I kind of suck at keyboard and mouse. I'm a console player at heart, and I did try out the controller for a little bit, but I couldn't quite get the settings right. Anyway, let's get into some of the gameplay here. So Ubisoft has said that it wanted to attain a kind of easy to understand but difficult to master style of gameplay, and from what I can tell, that seems to be the case. It felt kind of snappy and fast paced, the time to kill was nice, the weapons all felt quite attuned in a very cool kind of way. It was arcadey in a way that reminded me of classic Halo or Call of Duty, and the map design really does make you feel that even more so, because 10 of the 14 maps that we're getting on launch have this whole 3-lane design, so it really wouldn't be out of place if you threw it in to a Call of Duty game back in its heyday. With each faction as well, you're getting your own unique abilities. So for example, the cleaners from The Division have an incinerator drone, whereas the echelon spies from Splinter Cell have a digital ghillie suit to effectively make them invisible. So there is a bunch of variety there to the different kind of playstyles, but it does really fall within those archetypes of tanky support, healer, your aggressive pusher. There's all of that there that you've seen in other games before. So if you played the likes of Overwatch 2 or Apex or Destiny, you know how these things work, you know how these abilities play out. But I will say that there was a nice diversity thanks to this Ubiverse, because you have different style of characters. Each faction has its own announcer, so if you're playing as a certain faction, you'll hear a different announcer throughout the game. And then of course all the maps are quite different. You've got a nice variety there in terms of post-apocalyptic maps, you've got tropical maps, you've got sci-fi maps, you've got like the Noodle Complex, the Noodleverse Complex or whatever it's called from Watch Dogs 2. There was a nice colourful attitude to it all that's missing from many modern shooters. As someone that's really into the live service kind of game, I can see myself really digging this on launch because it's snappy, it's fast paced, it's fun, which is kind of the main thing. It felt simple in a way, like just simple fun, where I feel like a lot of other games now are trying to kind of bog you down with these big gimmicky mechanics, whereas here it was a pretty straight-laced multiplayer arena shooter. There wasn't really much to it other than the factions kind of thing. Looking ahead though, post-launch support, Ubisoft is really going all out with this thing. On launch itself, we're getting 14 different maps, 24 weapons, 5 factions, at least 4, and I believe a couple more modes to come on launch as well. And then when the first season kicks off, we're going to get new maps, weapons, modes, and even a new faction, and that's going to happen every 3 months as well. So Ubisoft is really going for it. They really are looking for a new Rainbow Six Siege. Whether it finds that audience is another question entirely. The one thing I did find weird is that if you're trying to capture this whole Ubiverse thing, that you're pulling from a third-person open world adventure series, is someone that's a fan of that really going to want to play a first-person multiplayer shooter? I don't know if the crossover's quite there. I think the selling point is a little niche in that respect, but ultimately it will really depend on how well the game plays and how fun it is. But if we're talking from a purely content perspective, I think it has the potential there, because a lot of these big games really just mess it up so badly because they leave players wanting more for too long. You know, something like Battlefield 2042 almost entirely died because it took so damn long before they even introduced a new map or mode or weapon or whatever. Now we're getting this every 3 months, so I do think there's a potential, but whether it's enough, does it stand out enough? That is a question I think I'd have to leave to see whether it catches, because from my perspective it's certainly something I would play, but would I play it continually? It really depends. So anyway, those were my quick thoughts on XDefiant. Please let me know down below what you're thinking of this game and whether it's something that you're at all interested in. Do you think Ubisoft has another hit on its hands, or is this another Hyperscape? And of course, if you enjoyed the video, then leave a like, that really does help us out. And if you want to stay up to date with the news, reviews, guides and gameplay all within the world of PlayStation, then stick with us here at Push Square. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.